Hello, welcome to Strip Threads. So, I made mention in one of the other videos, but if you guys remember the gold 72 that I bought with the copper 71, the patina cricket, I traded that to my friend Robin for the wagon. And he's got it all fixed up. Next year it's getting painted. It looks like this now. So he contacts me, sends me a text, and in that text is a yellow 72 Plymouth Cricket sedan without the decor group. And it's sitting in a self-pull junkyard. Pick and pull, you pull it, whatever the name of the place is. You can tell by the pictures. Well, those places will not sell a complete vehicle. Sometimes if they get a title with it and it's late model and worth something, they'll sell it, for retail pricing with a junk slip maybe, or a rebuilder title. Some of them do. This place doesn't. They absolutely will not sell the complete car. And it sucks because you can look at these pictures here and look at them closely. The car doesn't look like it's been sitting outside all these years. It looks like it's been sitting in a garage or a barn, and then maybe 5 years ago it was pushed out and it's only been out in the weather that long. I mean, look at the window gaskets, the lack of rust. It's a wealth of parts. I mean, look at these pictures. So as you can see, the wheel well openings don't show any rust. The rockers don't show any rust. All that. So like the bumpers, the back bumpers got that little bit of damage, but I can straighten that out. So the bumpers I could use, the rockers I can use if they're not damaged from the forklift. I need at least one to make the panel under the bumper for the wagon, because I've been told that it's the same curve, the same shape as what the wagon used. But beyond that, the panel between the taillights, you can see that it's had some work done. That paint doesn't quite match there. But even so, I don't think it was much damage. And regardless of that, it's the piece under the bumper that I could use in the wagon, and it would be, it would have the license plate cut out, and it would be almost the right curvature. So even if I cut the license plate section out and welded it into this rocker, or added a little bit of curve, or even changed the curve, it wouldn't matter. That piece would work. I need that. A spare rear axle would be good to have. About the only one I might end up having that I know is good is the one in the patina cricket. And, it's still in the car. The car's still complete. I've got those other two axles that I don't know if they're any good. I haven't been able to ever test them, and there's no axle shafts in them. So if I lost a wheel bearing, I'd either have to get a bearing from England, or I would have to yank the axle shaft out of this axle and swap it. On that, I put the green cricket up for the winter and pull it out spring. So the plan is to take the Mazda, load that bad boy up. I've got it ready to go right now, as a matter of fact. So take that Mazda up north, it's 6 hours north, and buy the back half of the car. They will sell me the back half of the car. The problem is they don't have, they have a price list of all the components and what they cost. So there is no back half of the car. There are quarter panels, there is bumpers, there are trunk lid, there's back window, there's rear axle assembly. There really isn't anything for rear springs or rear suspension, but I'm hoping that would be included with the axle assembly. Back seat, So basically, the way for me to buy the back half of the cars, I would have to buy each individual component by itself. And I've done this before. I bought a cab for the Courier. And they, because the Couriers, the inner fenders and core support are all one piece with the cab, they charged me for the cab, and they let me, I had to take the driver's seat out of it, I had to take the steering column out of it, and I had to take the gauge cluster out of it. Everything else stayed in it. The heater box stayed in it, the windshield back window stayed in it, carpeting stayed in it, the doors had to come off, the fenders had to come off, hood had to come off, radiator, all that. But the master cylinder, brake booster stayed in it, all that stuff. And so I'm hoping that this place, I'm really hoping they're sympathetic. I mean, because honestly, they're not going to sell anything off of that car except to me. There's nobody anywhere around here that has one. All the other owners of the Crickets are on the East Coast. I'm the only person close. So, I'm hoping that I can cut the car in half, and I'd probably cut it right at the firewall, cut the B-pillar out of it, and maybe they'd count that as whatever. But take the back window out because I don't need it. I'd like to take the trunk lid with me because I have 2 spare trunk lids here. And actually I have 3 spare trunk lids. None of them are great. Like, I have my original one from the Green Cricket, and my dad drilled out the trunk lock and he put a Cougar XR7 emblem over the hole, and so that screwed up. Plus it's got Bondo in it from when the car got rear-ended way back when. You can see the video when I fixed all that. I've got one off of an Phantom Mist car, and it's got a lot of little dents in it and stuff from things being dropped on it, sitting on it, banged around. That came with those 3 cars I bought in Wichita back in like 2000 or 99. And then I've got the brown one that's on the 71 Aztec Gold car that donated the front half of the wagon. That one's got a couple dings, like sharp dings, that they're not real big, but they're very sharp, so they would be very hard to pull because the metal is so stretched. So realistically, you could just pack them full of Bondo. It's like something with a bolt came down and almost poked a hole in it. But that would be the best one I've got. Trunk lid would definitely, and all of them have significant pitting rust where they come down at the bottom there on the inside where the pinch weld is, where the skin comes over the inner structure. They're all rusted there, bad enough that I wouldn't want to use one. Like the one that's on the Green Cricket now has the 2 holes drilled in it for the spoiler, and I've just got bolts and rubber washers plugging the hole. I'd like to take one, paint it black, make it look weathered, and swap it, but none of the ones I have over here have less rust than that one. So I don't want to. Maybe this one's better. Either way, if the trunk lid's expensive enough, I could go without. I'd kind of like to have the taillights, especially the housings, because none of the taillights I have here are in very good shape. The Cricket taillights, so they're all red. The ones that are on the Green Cricket are from, Great Britain, so they're red and amber, and I bought those brand new like 25 years ago. Whew. And they're starting to show little tiny cracks, but they still look good. But none of the ones I have here are good. They're very cloudy. They have lots of little crazing cracks in them. These ones look pretty good from the picture. The chrome doesn't look real pitted up from the picture. We don't know what it's going to look like when it's there. Everything I have here has damage, has corrosion. So there's that. The back bumper, again, I don't have a good back bumper. The best one I have is the one that was on the green car with a tiny bit of damage, and the chrome is bad. The original bumper I still have, and it's pretty bowed. It's going to be kind of hard to fix that one. The one on the back of the patina Cricket is real bent up, real beat up. The one that was on the back of the wagon was incredibly beat up, and I actually chopped it and was experimenting with cutting, straightening, welding, and maybe I can get out and straightened out, but obviously it wouldn't be nice looking without a bunch of Bondo and paint. So grabbing the back bumper and definitely the front bumper, I've got one, the wagon had a good front bumper on it, but the chrome was very, very dull and rust stained. So it might be able to be polished out. The bumper on this yellow car looks a lot better. The hood. The wagon hood has some very bad pitting in the back of it. Like, I could probably poke a screwdriver through it and make a hole out of it. And if I remember correctly, the inner structure was rusted out around the hinges just a little bit. So not a very good hood. The Aztec Gold hood had that accident damage in it that I didn't fix very well, and it was kind of bad. Like, the whole front of the hood had a bow on the right side, and I pulled it out, but I think it's still kind of got a bow to it, and I think it might have a little bulge in it from the dent getting pushed kind of up. So I don't really want to use it unless I have to. And then I've got the one hood that I had kind of painted green and black and weathered and put on my car for a while in Washington because I didn't want the open hood scoop hood. That hood somebody has jumped up and down on, and it's really wavy and crappy, but you could use it. I'm not going to use it on the wagon though. It would take way too much to try to fix. So I'd like to grab the hood off of this car if it's any good. You'll look at it in the pictures. You can't really tell if there's any damage to it. There is some spots where the paint is peeled off, and it's a little rusty, but I don't know. We'll see what it looks like when I get there. The grill is obviously broken. I don't know about any of the interior parts. It'd be nice. I don't know if it's an early 72 or a late 72, so I won't know what door latches it has, but I'd have to grab all of that stuff, and they'd charge me for each piece. And that's what they told me. They'd charge me for each piece. So it'd be nice if I could give them, pay for the 2 quarter panels, pay for the bumper, and they just pay for the rear axle and walk out of there. It's still going to be like $600. But it just comes down to it. I've had where I bought a glove box for the Volvo, and they charged me for the bolt, the nut, the washer, and the glove box, and the hinge. And, they're sitting there, like the proverbial cash register. I'm like, holy crap. It still only ended up being $15, but still, come on. You buy the parts, they're not going to charge you for each individual little piece, usually. They'll charge you for the brunt of it. And, like, you buy a gauge cluster, they're not going to charge you for the speedometer, the gas gauge, the temperature gauge, and the light bulbs. They're just going to charge you for the cluster because it's a unit. But I don't know what's going to happen. So I got a credit card. So I can go up there, I can buy the stuff, and then I can pay the credit card back, $50 a paycheck, whatever. And call it good. It's kind of one of those things where if it was Courier parts, if it was Valiant parts, if it was DeSoto parts, I wouldn't be so anxious about it and so desperate about it because you can get those parts. They come up, you find them, they're still available. Cricket parts, you don't find. You don't find them in junkyards. They pop up once in a blue moon. I mean, in the last 5 years, I've had, 3 or 4 of them pop up. What's amazing is this channel and me doing this stuff on the Crickets. I've had people coming out of the woodwork talking about them, and I've had other people pop up and say, hey, I found, these cars in this place. It's like, holy crap, Just since this channel's happened, God, there's been 10 or 12 Crickets that pop up. We had all those ones in that junkyard pop up, but, they weren't known to people outside of, those few people that found them. But, now they're known to the world. And it's great. I'm not taking credit for it. It's great that, now there is that tool. So that's my plan for next week, is to go up there, cut that car in half, and bring it back. If I could afford it, God, I wish they'd sell the whole car. I'd go up there with the Jeep and my trailer. Actually, I wouldn't. I'd go up there with the tow bar. I'd take a tow bar off the wagon and drag it back with the Jeep. Because the trailer's really heavy. There's no way in hell I'd be able to drive that Dodge up there and back. 55 miles an hour and that thing. And the gas mileage, 8 miles a gallon, 7 miles a gallon, no. But anyway, that's just something I wanted to tell you guys about and see. Who knows, maybe there's some of you guys out there that might want some parts off of it. We might be able to work out something, but I don't have the upfront funds to go beyond what I am going to do anyway. So you definitely have to pay for the stuff beforehand. But I don't really want to reveal where it's at until I'm there, but until I get what I want off of it. But anyway, that's what's going on between working on the Valiant, working on the Savoy, and dealing with this Cricket. And that's it for now. That's it. I'll let you guys know next week when I head up there. You know, there'll be another episode on it. So here we are. 6.5 hour drive from home in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I'm looking at an April of '72 Plymouth Cricket. So unfortunately, it's nowhere near as good as I was hoping, but there was no way to know until I got here to look at it. So the rockers are no good. Under lips no good. Quarter extensions are good, but not good enough for me to spend my time working on. It's got some interesting dealer applied wood applique, however you pronounce it. And again, this is a non-decor group, low-level car. Had blue fuzzy seat covers. These door panels really aren't all that bad. Well, this one isn't good, but and no stainless. So this quarter isn't worth cutting off. This trunk lid really isn't too bad. And rust-wise, that's about the worst of it. It really isn't too bad, but this is the worst of it. I think I can straighten that out. So we might take the trunk lid. This is loaded with filler. Not super bad, but bad enough that it damaged it here. And I don't know if you remember the other video, you see how hard it was to get in there and fix that. This panel is wasted. This is what I really wanted for the wagon, but it's no good. It's got filler over there. Gas cap, take that. I can straighten that out. See, that's no good. That's no good. Thought about grabbing the axle, but air shocks. I'm not gonna do that. Back bumper is bent, but I think I can straighten that out. This fender is a little rusty, but it's pretty bent up. It's no good. This hood is no good. It's full of filler. Front edge of the fender is full of filler. Lower valance is shot. Front bumper doesn't look bad. It's a little boogered up, so we'll grab that. And again, the hood is junk. It's got a little bow there, full of filler in the back. This fender isn't horrible. It's pretty rusty there, and it's got filler here. Yeah, see, that's the factory paint. So the damage, factory paint, looks like it was isolated to up here But frankly, it's not worth the hassle to pull that off. Isn't worth messing with. 1981 looks like the last inspection on this thing. Underneath the hood, I mean, I'd love to grab all of this stuff, but you know, transmission at least, brake booster, there just isn't the time or the energy. So it's not so rough that I couldn't have put it back on the road, but it's too rough for me to waste my time cutting it in half. Looks like it's still got floors. That trim is worth something. Kick panels look like they're missing. Yeah. Somebody replaced them with carpet. Well, it's underneath the carpet, but it's probably no good. Okay, so we're gonna grab those. Gonna grab the bumpers. Oh, interesting. The top half back seat is a Decor Group back seat, and it's blue. That's what color my blue car's interior was. But as you can see, it's bad. It's not horrible bad, but it's bad. Oh, there's a hole in the floor. I kind of have to grab those seatbelts, but they're no good. Oh, all kinds of things I'd like to grab, but there's only 2 hours left to be here. I don't really want to stay the night. I might grab those door panels. Okay. Let me go grab my tools. Looking at this thing from underneath, the camera's dirty. The bumper's got a hell of a twist to it, so I don't think it's savable. I don't know. Gas tank shot. One interesting thing I forgot to mention, somebody grabbed the taillights out of it. So if you're out there and you own a Cricket, or maybe you just took them because they were cool looking, get in touch, and you see this video, get in touch with me, because if you do have a Cricket, we should be friends. Seriously. I'm gonna pull this bumper anyway, I think. I mean, I gotta have something to show for this trip. The front bumper is so rusted in there, I can't get it out. Damn. It looked so good in the pictures, it really did. I really was expecting it to be worse, but not this bad. The inner fenders are completely rusted where they meet the firewall. They're rusted out around the upper strut towers. Frames bent on this thing. It was wrecked just like the Valiant was, and patched back together. Nicer than they did on the Valiant, but still, it's just junk, just old junk. Okay, here it is, the next day. So yesterday, I drove 360 miles to that junkyard. I got there, I thought I had 2 hours to remove parts. I had less than an hour. So I had 45 minutes to get all that done. I tried pulling the front bumper, but any of you guys that have pulled the front bumper off an early Avenger Cricket know that, especially on the right side, there is a crap ton of stuff down there. I couldn't get an impact in there. I didn't bring a ratchet in with me. I could have went out and got it, but I don't think there was enough room between the radiator, the horn, the coil, all that stuff in the way. So I just had an open-end wrench, or box-end wrench. I got 2 of the bolts pulled, and they were a real pain in the ass. And then the ones on the other side, I could not get them to turn at all. That's the side that had a lot more damage. I wish I would have shot video of it. But in case you didn't notice then and now, I'm under the weather. I don't know if it's just a cold or whatever it is. Half the people at work are out with the flu, so it's probably that. I wasn't in a very good state of mind and disappointed, with the condition of the car. So I noticed on the car, it's a 72, April 72. It's got the fixed wing windows. It's an on-decor group, so fixed wing windows. It's got the later door latches and the later seat belts. So I don't know when they switched that stuff over. Because the car that I traded with Robin for the wagon was basically the same thing. I don't remember what month and year it was, but I've got it here in my phone. So let me check. Yeah, so it's April of 72 as well. I need to go check the wagon. I don't remember if the wagon had the later door latches in it or not. I have to just go look. But yeah, I think the wagon did have the later ones because I had that one Phantom Mist door off the wrecked car that I got up in El Dorado, Kansas, way back. It was definitely a 72, just based off of the interior color, the exterior color, because the Phantom Mist was a 72 color, the turquoise interior was a 72 color. That car had the full wheel covers, the 72, 73 full wheel covers on it. But it had the early door latches, so it had to have been a really early car. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I went up there, walked around the car, decided, hey, this thing is too rough it's not worth it cutting in half. As I was working on the car, I noticed up in front that the upper valance, or I guess you wouldn't call it the upper valance, maybe it's called a slam guard plate, where the hood latch bolts on, that panel, that had been replaced and not finished real well. You could see where they plug welded it and they didn't fill the plug welds all the way in. They didn't grind them or anything. They just, whatever. And the paint was peeling off. The yellow paint was peeling off and it was black underneath. So I think they were replacement parts, not junkyard parts. Also, the valance panel had been replaced. Again, real sloppy work. The little brace that goes from the hood latch down is supposed to be spot welded to the upper part of the valance. And then the bottom of the core support is supposed to be welded there. They riveted it in. So, and nobody has ever been able to tell me why. Maybe some of you English guys, New Zealand guys can tell me, but the panel, I think, came from Chrysler later date, because where the bumper, the slots where the bumper brackets go in, there are 4 of them. They use the outside ones. Where I've seen that on the New Zealand cars. So nobody can tell me when Chrysler went to that and why Chrysler went to that. I'm thinking maybe the second gen Mark II Avengers with the bigger bumpers might have used the inside bumper brackets. So they just stamped the plate out with both holes. I don't know, but this car had that on there. I forgot to take pictures. The left front fender was almost good enough for me to grab. It had that rust on the bottom corner. It had all that filler in the front of it. The problem was, though, where it bolted on, it looks like somebody at some point, or maybe when the car was wrecked and they fixed it, because that was the original fender on that side. I think the passenger side fender had been replaced. It looked like around the bolts on the top flange, they pried it up. And I don't know if I documented it or not, but when I did that same thing on the wagon, those fenders got kind of bent. So I was really careful taking them off of the Aztec Gold car. But that was really easy to bend that. So it was all bent up. So it looked like somebody had tore the fenders off, probably to adjust it or fix it. Probably took the fender off, fixed it, put it back on. So it just wasn't worth grabbing. I did notice that it was rusting out around the upper strut mount, and where the inner fender met the firewall, it was rusting on the top. So that car was a goner. It wasn't going to be fixed. As a matter of fact, the patina Cricket, the copper one, doesn't have any of that rust at all. Its rust is in the bottom of the frame rails. So, the rockers were rusted out. There wasn't enough there to even try to cut. Plus, the forklift crushed them. Not really worth messing with. It would have been nice to grab the transmission. At the very least, the transmission in the patina Cricket has where the ball on the shifter sits in a cup. The edges of the cup are all broken. So if you shift it, if you're not real gentle shifting it, it'll pop that cup out of there, and then you'll be stuck in whatever gear you're in. You have to take it all back apart and put it together. So I could have taken that extension housing off and just put it on the transmission that's under, because that transmission's good. It doesn't make any noise. It's a jump out of gear. It's great. But I could have swapped that part and had one good transmission, because I do have the one transmission that was in my green Cricket, but originally before I put the Datsun drivetrain in it. That transmission came out of that wrecked early Phantom Mist car in Kansas, and the extension housing had gotten broken in half in the wreck. It was wrecked that bad. So I took a junk transmission that I had. I mean, the thing, you could not put it in third gear. It would not take third gear. And somehow something inside of it was bent because it just shook hard. So anyway, I took that extension housing, put it on that transmission, and it was great. 26,000 miles, 24,000 miles, original miles. But I made the stupid mistake of flat towing that car without pulling the drive shaft. And so now the transmission makes a hell of a lot of noise. It burned up those needle bearings in between the input shaft and the output shaft. So I could take that extension housing off, except that it's completely buried in that trailer. It would have to wait. So again, I still think the trip was worth it. I got the kick panels. They're black. And for some odd reason, definitely on the Cricket Avengers and a lot of the Mopar products from that era, if you got the black plastic, it would hold up really well. I think because they colored it with carbon. This isn't true for everything, but it's true for a lot of vehicles. Like Ford, the black panels will crumble away just like they would if they were white or any other color. But Chrysler, for some odd reason, they hold up. So I've got all those interior pieces from the wagon that were sandblasted. And there's all this stuff that needs to get blasted tonight. You saw, because they were really chalky and you could scrape off plastic, they were just so rotten. I can replace some of those with some of these parts and paint them all, because I'm going to paint the interior parts all brown and beige, so they're not going to stay turquoise, but at least I'll have the detail. So the sills, the screws were really rusted in and they're small, and I needed a stubby Phillips to get to them, because once you get to where the seat is, you can't get to any of those screws. I didn't have a stubby Phillips. What I did have, though, was a Phillips, I think I had a Phillips bit and a 1/4-inch socket and a 1/4-inch drive ratchet. So I probably could have got them off, I don't know. But I tried to kind of pry up around it, and I broke the driver's side one. So at that point, I kind of gave up on those. I regret not trying harder on those. Those I could definitely use, because the turquoise ones have been blasted and they're really thin. I did grab all of the window cranks and the little fillers. They're in black. Of course, this being a non-decor group car, it didn't have the aluminum around it, which honestly, I think the ones from the wagon were still good. But beyond that, those aluminum pieces always look like crap. They're always bent. They're just not good looking. But I did save all the window winders. I grabbed the 2 front armrests because it's not a decor group car. It doesn't have rear armrests. It's got the strap. I don't need the strap. Although it was probably maybe better than the wagon ones, but I don't know. Who knows? I did grab the little pull flappers, whatever, for the inside door handles. I grabbed all of those because none of them are cracked. They were all in good shape. Grabbed all of that stuff. I thought about grabbing the door panels. I wish I would have, because I had everything there to do it. I should have just done it. Obviously money is an object. I can't afford this. I had to put all this on the credit card and I'll pay it off over the months. But so I grabbed that stuff. I got the kick panels. I got the armrests, the window winders, cranks handles, the inside door latch handles, and the speaker grill, because this is what the one I have in my green card looks like. So I stole the one from the wagon, because the one from the wagon was even nicer than the one I grabbed from this car. But the one I grabbed from this car was slightly warped, where my original one, as you saw, was completely warped. So I did grab that. I'm excited about that. But I really wish what I would have done is taken the Sawzall and the cutoff wheel back in there, and about 3 or 4 inches forward of the back edge, it just cut there and then curved and kind of went to the wheel well and got the lower quarters, the trunk extensions, and then the whole back panel with the bumper and brackets still on the frame rail, just chop the back of the car. I kind of wish I would have done that. Then I would have had all that stuff. I think I could have cut the rear panel just above the bumper and straightened it out and used that on a wagon. So I'm kicking myself in the ass for not doing that. And I could have just cut the bumper brackets on the front, had the front bumper. So, oh well, I didn't do that. The engine was locked up, would not turn. It probably could have been freed up pretty easily, unless that's the reason why it was parked. If you saw in the one picture, the right rear brake drum was missing and all of the studs were snapped off a long time ago, and there's damage. So I think it lost a wheel is why they parked it, because it definitely fell off while it was being driven. So who knows? All in all, the car wasn't viable. So trying to buy the whole car, especially silencing it, I would have regretted paying big money for that. It might have been worth it. If I could have bought it for $500, it might have been worth it, but I don't have $500. I don't regret going up there, because even those few parts I did grab made it worth it, I guess. Especially that speaker grill and those kick panels. They do have glue on them, but the glue flakes off with your fingernails, so I think it'll be okay. Yeah, I just wish there was a few more things I would have grabbed. I had 45 minutes. The alternative would have been stay in a hotel, so there's, $60, $70, $80 right there. And then come back the next day and get the rest of those parts and then come home. On that, the Mazda did pretty well. I was getting anywhere from 21 to 24 and a half miles to the gallon. I did have an issue with it, where the fuel line is plugging up, because the thing runs out of gas on a quarter tank. I think what happened was, from it sitting 27 years or whatever, the sock on the end of the pickup rotted away. But all those pieces are kind of in there, and every now and then one will get sucked up into the pickup, and then it starts cutting out. So it wasn't cutting out as bad as it was the first time I did it. But, at some point going up there, I had to be real easy on the gas, which running it lean like that isn't a good thing to do. Coming back, it only did it a couple times, but I need to blow the fuel line out again. It doesn't seem to use any oil. I haven't checked it since I've been home, but I checked it the last tank of gas I got. It wasn't overheating or running hot or anything. The heater was working great. So, that'll make somebody a good project. It's the bed has rust in it, but the rest of the truck is pretty rust-free and no big dents. So, all of those things are really hard to find where they're not just full of filler, full of rust, and full of cracks and stuff, just abuse. That thing's basically still a brand new truck. The thing rode pretty nice. It does have the soft ride package. The Courier doesn't. And the steering, I had to be really careful because I'm so used to everything being kind of loose, going back and forth. If I did that, it'd be all over the road. So I just had to hold it, get used to it being so tight, smooth. But like I said, it wasn't a bad trip. I just need to get over this. I'm not doing anything today. But sorry there wasn't more content on the car, but there wasn't a whole lot there to show. The dome light was missing out of it, so I'm really thinking that somebody owns a Cricket up there. I want to meet this guy. I want to meet you. If you're the Cricket guy up there in Nebraska, I want to meet you. So, anyway, that's it for this video. I'm going to have another video up soon on the Savoy. That car will be up for sale. The Mazda will be for sale as a roller. I got to put that engine in my Courier. And remember, 76,000 mile original truck. Virgin. And I'll get back to work on the Valiants. Get that sold. If you guys haven't seen the Furiosa trailer yet for the new Mad Max movie, she drives a 62 Valiant. So, but that's it for this video. I will talk to you guys later, and I will have more content up soon. Take care.